This is Famous and Gravy, biographies from a different point of view. To participate in our opening quiz, email us at hello@famousandgravy.com. Now here's the quiz to reveal today's dead celebrity.
This person died 2025, age 78. He had a long-time devotion to the technique of transcendental meditation.
That's not a helpful clue.
Alec Guinness?
Not Alec Guinness. George Lucas wanted him to direct Return of the Jedi.
David Lean.
David Lean? Not David Lean.
He's a director. He directed Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh.
Like Martin Scorsese's Alive.
Scorsese's Jedi would have been a great movie. He dropped out of art school in 1967, but he remained in Philadelphia for another 3 years, painting and making short films.
Rob Reiner?
Not Rob Reiner. Good guess.
Oh.
Not Rob Reiner.
You know the name that, oh God, Mike Nichols?
Not Mike Nichols. Great guess. Like Frank Capra and Franz Kafka, two artists whose work this person much admired and might be said to have synthesized, his name became an adjective.
How can I not know this? If his name became an adjective, it's like obviously a household word.
This one's not coming to me.
He had a florid style and an unnerving perspective. He created the network TV series Twin Peaks, broadcast in 91 and 90, and widely acknowledged masterpiece Mulholland Drive in 2001.
Is it David Lynch?
Oh, David Lynch.
Today's dead celebrity is David Lynch.
You could have given me, he gives the weather forecast on KCRW. He does that.
Good morning. It's July 8, 2022. And if you can believe it, today I was thinking about Gene Vincent and the song Bebop-A-Lula from the year 1956. Once again, we're going to be enjoying those beautiful blue skies and golden sunshine all along the way. Everyone, have a great day.
Welcome to Famous and Gravy. I'm Michael Osborne.
And my name is Jacob Weiss.
And on this show, we choose a famous figure who died, and we take a totally different approach to their biography. What didn't we know? What could we not see clearly? And what does a celebrity's life story teach us about ourselves? Today, David Lynch died 2025, age 78. All right, so today I am thrilled to be joined by Jacob Weiss. If there is one person who has shaped Famous and Gravy behind the scenes, it's Jacob. Most people aren't going to know that, but you started editing the show like around was it Alex Trebek, Neil Armstrong?
I think it was the one before Neil Armstrong.
Was it Diego Maradona?
I definitely did Diego.
Okay, it was somewhere around somewhere.
And I've probably listened to just about every episode.
Yeah.
Except famously not the first one.
You really should check out the first episode. It's worth a listen. But so, I mean, you've been with us for over 100 episodes, well over 100 episodes. And just to lead off with a compliment, you helped give the show voice, and you've absolutely helped me understand what works and what doesn't. And so forever, I've wanted you to sit in the co-host seat. Thank you for making time for that. And I think, as also part of the behind the scenes is like, you and I have had a lot of conversations about pop culture. Like every time I'm working on an episode, you'll have a documentary I should check out or a book, or you won't know who somebody is. Yeah. And I can't wait to introduce them.
Yeah, I think that's been interesting that we are I say we're pretty close in age, but you're trending Gen X and I'm trending millennial.
Yeah.
And so our it's interesting. Sometimes we're like in sync of like, oh, we both really like Christopher Guest.
Right.
But then you're telling me about that one guy.
Oh, I was telling you about Defending Your Life, Albert Brooks the other day.
And I said, who's that?
And you had no idea.
Yeah.
I've always admired your taste, and I really enjoy when you and I get to talking about it. I mean, sometimes I wish we had recorded those conversations.
Yeah.
And so when I asked you to come on the show, we've floated a few names, but recently you had a conversation with somebody who said, I can't believe it's been a year since David Lynch died.
Yeah, just a friend of mine offhanded just kind of said like, oh man, R.I.P. David Lynch, been a year. And we had that kind of shared, like loss of like, wow, it hasn't felt like it's been a year. And it was a big absence all of a sudden, and I think the fact that like someone can unprompted say like, I miss this person, kind of speaks to their cultural relevance. And then I immediately texted him and like, it's been a year.
Yeah.
It's time for David Lynch. He's going to do it.
Okay. So I without stepping on future categories, I am curious where you started. Like how did you first become aware of David Lynch?
Yeah. So a little about me is I went to film school and also discovered like music and movies like most teens do, and especially like living in the age of the internet. As soon as you find something that's kind of weird, then you like pull on that thread so fast. And with the internet, you can just be like, okay, I learned about Tarantino, but then within 2 weeks, I'm already at like Japanese like gore films,
kung fu,
because you're like 17 and you're like, and then everyone's like, oh, David Lynch, obviously. So Eraserhead, that's kind
was
of...
that the first one you saw? Okay.
And Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
Like pretty much, because that's like what people recommend,
Yeah.
And I really liked Eraserhead. I didn't quite understand Mulholland Drive. And there's actually like a term that I like to prescribe to people like David Lynch, where it's like art that is like sandpaper, where you watch it and you might not like it, but then maybe like a day, 2 days, a week later, it's still like rubbing on you. And you're like, I don't, why am I still thinking about this?
Should have healed by now.
I don't know why it's still like, it's kind of like, and then you go back to it and you're like, what was it that kind of like rubbed me this way? And then you watch it again and you understand a little more and a little more. And so it might've been like the first movie that really, I kind of loved and hated at the same time.
Eraserhead or Mulholland Drive?
Mulholland Drive, yeah.
Okay.
Because it doesn't make any sense the first time.
Right.
And when you're young, movies are like, E.T.
Yeah. They're supposed to entertain.
They're Terminator 2. And you're like, that was awesome, but not this. So I'd say Lynch is maybe one of the first directors that kind of made me understand that movies can be more, they can leave you wondering,
I mean, one more question before we get into the categories. I mean, tell me a little bit about your research journey preparing for this. Did you move much from where you were? Because when you pitched him as an idea, it was clear like you had opinions and you loved him, and I'm kind of curious what the journey's been.
I just listened to a lot of him talking because he famously hates interviews. And so I really wanted to like listen to him talk because he's like really cagey and really vague and he hates to answer questions. And so I was trying to like figure out what's really going on with him. Okay. I didn't read anything.
Okay. No, that's okay.
Because famously, David Lynch does not like reading.
Yeah.
And he does not like writing.
I actually didn't know that.
He hates it.
He hates reading?
And writing.
I had no idea.
There's a one of the phrases later. I'll just reveal it now. He says,
"How did you learn this if you didn't read anything?"
He talks.
I never heard him say I hate reading.
Yeah, he says the only thing that writing is good for is to remember ideas. So it's like
that.
Yeah, but like he'll write it down and then be like, okay, now I just don't forget it. Like I'm not gonna write a novel or anything. It's just like it's like little clues.
I might write a movie. Wow. Okay, but I guess what I was really asking about was the emotional journey.
Yeah.
If you had one that did it endear you more to him, or did it change, or is it a lateral move at all as a result of having listened to him a lot?
Yeah, honestly, I think funny enough, the more I learned, the more I kind of questioned and maybe even disliked a little bit about him as a person.
Interesting.
But I still love him as an artist and really respect him. And I still am really glad that we're going to do this episode.
Yeah.
But he's a complicated man.
He is.
As a person.
Yeah.
And as an artist.
Yeah.
And as a painter and as a whatever.
Well, I think we'll have to see what the obituary says. I think that's a good segue. All right, well, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Category 1, grading the first line of their obituary. David Lynch, a painter turned avant-garde filmmaker whose fame, influence, and distinctively skewed worldview extended far beyond the movie screen to encompass television, records, books, nightclubs, a line of organic coffee, and his foundation for consciousness-based education and world peace has died. He was 78. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Holy cow, what a first line sentence.
It feels like it's just a bullet point list, of things. Like there's not really a lot of artistry to the sentence.
Yeah.
It feels like they just started and then they just said like, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. But that's kind of him, where he would do something for a little while and then drop it and then do something else for a little while and drop it. Like everyone thinks of him as a director, but he only made 7 movies in his lifetime.
I mean, TV, of course, Twin Peaks, but even that wasn't a very long run.
I mean,
right?
Do you know how many episodes he directed of Twin Peaks?
It's very few, right?
6.
Is that all? Yeah.
Out of 30.
You're right.
If you don't count the return.
Yeah.
So almost none. I mean,
Yeah.
like 20%, nothing. So I like that it paints this big, like, oh yeah, this guy was like larger than life. He did everything,
Yeah.
I like that about it. I really love that it says David Lynch, a painter.
It's interesting that that's how they led.
But that's how he saw himself.
That's how he saw himself. He led with, he was a painter and he got interested in moving paintings, which is what led him into film.
Yeah. So I think that was nice. I know that this category is usually about what does the world know him for, and it's probably not being a painter.
Well, that's my reaction. There is not a single property in here.
Yeah.
It does not call out Blue Velvet, Elephant Man, Mulholland Drive, Twin Peaks, nothing.
It doesn't even say Academy Award nominated.
This is my number one gripe with this, is that what's funny is that I've really evolved on how I approach this category. Because early on, I used to say, well, yeah, it tells you what you know him for, but it misses all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And now I've come to understand the first line of the obituary as a news headline.
Yeah.
You remember this person for these things.
Yeah.
And this is not really what we remember him for. I do think avant-garde is good. I think that I feel like I could be wrong, but I think I learned the word or the phrase avant-garde
because of David Lynch.
David Lynch. And I felt like they should have.
I am a little sad that Twin Peaks is not in here just because that's so like
durable. It's so important.
Iconic.
Yeah.
It is iconic.
Totally.
And to be the guy who makes like arguably the TV show,
right.
the number one TV show, some would say, like, and just kind of, whatever. We'll get to it maybe in the third line.
Right.
It's kind of weird. But but at the same time, the fact that they highlighted the consciousness-based education and world peace is like,
which is all capitalized. Yeah. That's just so it's a foundation for consciousness-based education and world peace.
But like, I mean, I think if you were to again try to hook someone into being like, what's this guy all about?
Yeah.
If you just said, oh, he did movies and TV, like, but this is like, what is this guy? You know what I mean?
So
like,
I agree with that. I think that there is
perplexing.
It is hooky that way, to use your word. It like makes me want to know more.
Yeah. Or even like, I read this and I imagine I didn't know who David Lynch was.
Right.
I would honestly maybe think like, is this a joke? The coffee guy who was making nightclubs for world peace.
Kind of. I mean, we don't know him for these things that much, right? But if you're a fan, you do. This felt a little bit like it's skewed towards
inside baseball.
Yeah, skewed towards a fan writing it.
Yeah.
I have one other gripe here because I want to stick with my gripes. I kind of know what they mean by distinctly skewed worldview.
Okay, and I wrote this down. Only thing I really dislike is distinctively skewed worldview.
Yes.
I don't think that's the way to put it, but I know what they mean because you watch something like Blue Velvet and you're like, who's this Frank Booth? What's going on? What a weirdo made this movie.
Yeah.
But that's not his worldview. That's him saying like there's evil in the world, but we're rooting for the good guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So his worldview is like there exists evil or bizarre things, but he's not endorsing it.
I mean, a more accurate sentence would have been distinctly skewed presentation of the world or
Yes,
something.
there we go.
right? To
Yep.
say it's a worldview makes it his perspective,
Yeah.
and as if he has some argument, and I'm not sure that's true.
I think he's a very simple man, you know. He's a romantic. He loves people and art and coffee and cigarettes and burgers and milkshakes. He's just a very regular, and that's what in the research. And I tried to like see what other people said about him, and they're like, yeah, he's just like a normal guy. He's like bizarrely normal, you know, like he's
disarmingly normal, especially for like Hollywood. I mean, people would remark on meeting him and having this like, there was no pretension. It was very simple and and measured.
So that again, that's the one thing that I really think is wrong about this. Everything else is maybe like qualms. Well, there's one more thing I wanted to say.
Okay.
And this, and again, I know he passed away suddenly.
Yeah.
So this was on a deadline. They couldn't have.
But he was a heavy smoker. I mean, and he was
had
78.
emphysema.
Yeah.
Famously, he had to stop making movies because he was so debilitated. He'd say he'd lose his breath walking across the room.
Right.
But I think it's really important that he died almost in a mythical way. A man who fell in love with Hollywood dies when Los Angeles catches on fire.
It was during the LA fires.
Yes.
Of course.
He didn't die like because of them, but he had to move. He had to evacuate. He moved to his daughter's house.
That's right.
And because of the stress of moving, he got worse and died.
Handle it. Yeah.
So like his whole career is very obsessed with smoke, very obsessed with fire, lifelong smoker, dies of fire.
Yeah.
It's so eerie and perfect and almost dreamlike.
Yeah.
That I think they missed an alley-oop, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it like timestamps it, right? That like dying as the world is kind of like changing. He's been this sort of like force. We're entering a new era and he's gone. So
you're so right about that. There was an opportunity to just sort of slip something in about the nature of the circumstances and the hidden poetry of it.
Especially because so many times people will say he died in Los Angeles, he died in New York, or he died of cancer, he died of whatever.
They just say has died. Yeah, you should have done that.
He deserved some poetry.
Well, especially for an author who I do think is skewing towards fan.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
The fact that they didn't point to any properties and are instead trying to paint a picture of an artist, suggests that they understood something. And I do think that a lot in here would suggest that. But yeah, they really missed something there.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are you at?
I originally said 8 to be nice.
Okay.
Because it was on a deadline. David Lynch is a very positive guy. I don't want to be critical, but I'm feeling more like it's a solid 7.
Okay.
I can live with a 7.
I went 6.
Okay.
I went a little low. I think that they did drop the ball on the main thing they're supposed to do. You know him for this thing. I do think that's hard with him.
Yeah.
But I do think Twin Peaks is important enough in the history of television that you probably should have mentioned that one. And probably Eraserhead. There is, maybe the most important cult classic of all time.
The Midnight Movie.
The Midnight Movie, exactly.
The TV show, The Midnight Movie.
So I think I was at a kind of 7 before.
I think it's fair.
That's fair.
6, 7.
All right. 6, 7. Oh, God. All right. Category 2, 5 things I love about you. Here, Jacob and I will develop a list of 5 things that offer a different angle on who this person was and how they lived. So many places to go here. I'm going to let you lead. Okay. I think you've got a lot. What do you got for number 1, Jacob?
My first one is I'm going to call art vector. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that.
Okay.
So if you listen to him or read him at all, David Lynch is, famously seen, love him or hate him, as like a very creative, very bizarre, very out there, almost like genius, you know? And I think a lot of the people who analyze his work try and paint him as like, he's weaving all these metaphors and he's doing all this stuff and there's 10 different layers and you can never understand what he's doing. But if you listen to him talk...
Ideas come to us. We don't really create an idea. We just catch them, like fish. No chef ever takes credit for making the fish. It's just preparing the fish. In an instant, you know the idea. In an instant. Then the thing is translating that to some medium. It could be a film idea or a painting idea or a furniture idea. It doesn't matter. It wants to be something. It's a seed for something. So the whole thing is translating that idea to a medium.
The way that he approaches art is like very welcoming. You know, it's not that I'm going to put in my 10,000 hours and I'm going to be a master painter. Like, no, I this is my fourth painting. I had fun doing it. You know, like this is my first movie. Famously, he wanted to make a moving painting and he didn't have any money. And so he went around and said, I need to buy a 16 millimeter film camera. He didn't know what that was. Right. And he just bought the cheapest one. He didn't even realize that he bought a picture camera, not a movie camera. Yeah. And so his very first movie was him just taking pictures like stop motion.
Stop motion. Yeah.
And so and then here we are talking about him years later as like one of the best filmmakers of all time.
Yes.
And so like he lets the ideas kind of like lead him. And so art vector.
To me, the word that leaps out is intuition, creative intuition.
Yes.
The future category is words to live by, and I thought about this. I think it belongs here. Here's what he had to say that I love. Intuition is the key to everything in painting, filmmaking, business, everything. I think you could have an intellectual ability, but if you can sharpen your intuition, which they say is emotion and intellect joining together, then a knowingness occurs. I had never heard the idea that intuition is emotion and intellect joined together. Had you heard that before?
No.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's great.
Though?
Yeah, it is.
And it's got me thinking a lot because I think, it's certainly an obsession of Famous and Gravy and of mine is a creative journey and a creative life.
Yeah.
And David Lynch's artistry and creativity is so on display or so striking that he's essentially an archetype. I mean, he is the like quintessential creative filmmaker in some ways. And you can hear successful filmmakers like Kubrick talked about being a fan, playing Eraserhead on the fan on Shining.
Yes.
Jim Jarmusch, Fincher, Tim Burton. I mean, all of these, like a very eclectic mix of filmmakers would point to him as a key source of inspiration.
Definitely.
But as a Famous and Gravy point, there is something to me like I like the way you described it as it's out there and we're supposed to like let our spirit catch it somehow and translate it through a medium. Like that is the point, and that it's not and that it's not intimidating. You're right about that. There is one of the things about David Lynch is that I do feel on some level unqualified to talk about him because I do think only in that he is the kind of creator that attracts a tremendous amount of intellectual scrutiny. And, reviewers and critics like pour over his work trying to interpret and understand that. And sometimes I feel like, am I allowed to do that?
Yeah.
But I do feel allowed to do that. I watched the one I watched late last night. I stayed up watching Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it in ages.
Yeah.
And it, like, as a second rewatch, to your point, it's not that I get it more or understand it better, but there are things that are clicking into place for reasons I can't quite put my finger on.
Oh yeah. You come back and you're like, oh no, I get like it.
Does it really make sense?
I think so, but this is not a film podcast.
No, but and actually maybe this is the point about art vector and creative intuition.
Yeah,
is that he inspires conversation.
Yes,
and that's something I love in any artist, and that may even be the point of art. Is to inspire conversation.
Yes. And let me dovetail just one of my little things that I'll tag onto yours. But that I love that he never explained anything ever.
Yes.
So because like people would be like, so Eraserhead, that was like about you like being afraid to be a dad, and he's like, not really.
Nah. And that's coincidence.
And but it's like about families, and he's like, there's a family in it, and it's like
But that's the job, right?
Yes.
To not offer an interpretation.
No.
In
And
fact, it's sort of annoying when an artist tells you how you're supposed to interpret their work.
Yes, yes, and I love that he was like so ironclad, because you like, if you give an inch, then people are like, oh, well then now all of his movies there must be one true interpretation. But he was big on like, it's not about like what you think about it, it's how you feel about it.
Yeah.
I love abstractions, and the power of cinema to tell abstractions is huge. So it's as if people either don't have so much intuition, or they don't trust their intuition, or whatever. And there's a lot of noise in the cinema, and if you're not paying attention, because every little thing is got to be right, and you got to get into that world, and then trust your own intuition.
This one actually kind of again dovetails, and I didn't know how to say this in like a quaint, quick way, but so I just he made a bunch of art I don't really like.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I know how you feel. Okay, so what do you not like?
I think like Wild at Heart, it's fine. It's fine. It's good and bad. For me, my wife, it's like her favorite David Lynch movie.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it just depends on who it is. I don't really like his painting style. I get it.
I actually like it a lot.
I see. That's what I mean.
I actually love it. I mean, there's something, there's a, well, anyway, I interrupted.
No. Yeah, what do you like about it?
I was going to say there's something about his work that has a quality of synesthesia for me. The crossing of senses.
Yes,
his paintings, I feel like I can smell.
Yes,
his visuals, I feel like I can hear. I mean, there is something where he is really confusing the senses, and I think it's to your sort of sandpaper point.
Yes,
and I have never been to an exhibit, but what I've seen of his paintings, I was actually a lot more intrigued than I would have thought.
Fair. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And see, that's what, again, it's part of what I like about him. Because I can say there's a bunch that I don't really like.
Yeah.
And you're thinking of some, but it's not the same as what I'm thinking of. You know what I mean? Like we all have our different things that we might like and dislike. I didn't really like Twin Peaks: The Return all that much.
I actually never watched it.
I have a lot of friends who think it's his like masterpiece or whatever, but like I didn't really care for most of it. And that's fine, because I love Twin Peaks, the original. I love Fire Walk with Me. But like, anyways, I could go on and on. But why I like this is I think I thought about like, who are some artists who almost like 100% of the time I love. And I came up with two people.
Okay.
A musician, Johnny Greenwood of Radiohead. He does film scores.
Yeah.
He's like a super genius.
I know of him, and I've heard people talk about him. I haven't deep dived him.
I'm going to write some like romantic style piano music. Now I'm going to make an abstract, like percussive thing. Now I'm going to go to India and do all of this sort of like traditional music. He's just on a different level, and that's intimidating. It does not make me want to make music.
Yeah, right.
But I'll watch something by David Lynch or, listen to one of his songs, and I'm like, I think I could probably do better than that. And it's inviting. You know what I mean? It's like, David Lynch loves making stuff.
It's bold is what it is,
it's
right? Bold in the sense that he's going to I don't think he's trying to make a statement about being courageous.
No.
But you don't see him inhibited.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
He's going out there for the love of the game.
Right.
He says, I feel like playing guitar today. I'm going to make a guitar song. And it's like decent. And like,
it's enviable too.
Yes.
It's a quality I wish I had, because it does seem indifferent to reaction, right? It seems driven by the inside out, and it doesn't depend on audience reaction or audience capture.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
And so I love,
and it's a through line of his whole life.
Yes, exactly.
It's there really from an early age, from adolescence,
like 12 or something.
Totally. Yeah.
So I don't know. It made me reflect.
I don't like all his work. That's great. Number two.
It made me reflect on why you would make art. And it's not that you want to make the best movie ever made. It's because you just want to make a movie you like, or painting or whatever. So
All right, I'm going to take number 3, and I'm going to go Captain Obvious here. Commitment to transcendental meditation. I mean, it just needs to be brought up that this guy was. I did in getting ready for this episode. It's been an open tab on my browser. How to get transcendental meditation training. It's time, Jacob Weiss. It's time that I finally commit to this, because I've been hearing people talk it up for forever.
Yeah,
and I do think that. I really like hearing him interviewed. I like hearing him speak, the kind of quirky, weird accent.
Yeah.
He's so deliberate.
Yeah.
And he's so deliberate in everything, but certainly with his voice and with his word choice.
Yeah.
And I think this has to be a result of mindfulness.
Yeah.
I think that that creative intuition, that blending of intellect and emotion, to get there, to weave those things together, requires awareness.
Yeah.
It's like consciousness. They say every human being has consciousness, but not every human being has the same amount. The potential, however, for every human being is infinite consciousness. You can't just wish for more intuition. You can't just imagine you have more intuition. Same way with consciousness. You can't just wish for more. You can't just imagine more. You got to go where it is and get more. It's like fishing. You can put your hook on a desert and lay it on the desert in the sand. You wait for a long time for a fish, maybe huge, huge ages of time before water and fish come. Anyway,
I love that he's got a whole foundation on this, and I am going to commit to transcendental meditation. It's time.
There you go.
It's time. What are you going to go with for number 5?
This one's endearing for me specifically and for a podcast, and I'm just going to put sound design, because David Lynch is talked about for so many different things, but I think if you watch any of his work, you hear it more than anything.
Yeah, I get this to my synesthesia point a little bit. Yeah.
But and I kind of wrote this specifically to tell the story, because in Eraserhead, there is that one scene that Henry is woken up in the middle of the night, his baby's crying, and he goes out into the hallway, and this woman appears from just the darkness. But in the background is this sort of like ominous, like humming noise.
Yeah.
And it's like thick.
I locked myself out of my apartment.
And it feels like they're just like magnets coming together. That sound, he told the story of it, that they were in his bathroom. You can imagine, two guys like at midnight just crowded in his bathroom, filled the tub up with water, cut a bottle, and put a microphone suspended in water, and they're just in silence, like listening to this microphone float on the water. And they're just listening to it. And then he puts that in the movie. And that's just like one thing he did. Again, like art vector, intuition, all this stuff. Like, how do you find yourself in that situation? And then to be like,
how do you give yourself permission to be in that situation?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And then once it happens, be like, oh, that's the sound for, it's like my temptress to come out from like again, none of it makes any sense, but then you see the scene.
This sure sounds like sexual tension to me. That's hilarious.
And it's so late.
I guess that's why I love it, is that he's operating on these sort of like just vibes alone, and yet it's always leading him into something that is new and interesting. And you could say that about any of his sound design, right? Because it's very distinctive.
Yeah.
He has a lot of stuff. I mean, Twin Peaks, the backwards talking.
Yes.
Are you Laura Palmer?
I feel quiet. No, we're sometimes my arms went back. She's filled with features.
And it makes you wonder: are creatives still doing this? You know, I'm sure there are. I'd like to believe there are, but there is a patience and a trust in that process.
Yes, patience and trust. Yes,
that I also find. I wish I had those days and hours. And of course I do. Yeah. I just don't feel like I do. But, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think like that's the thing is I was like, I don't think everyone should like get into sound design, but I think like you should trust that if you have like an idea to like pull on it, you know, and he's clearly like pulling on all these different threads, no matter where it leads him. Last thing on sound design, he also famously would write notes to all of his films when they toured like the country. And Mulholland Drive is funny because he specifically says like, turn it up louder than it should go and it should clip. Yeah. And he wanted it to be so loud that when there was loud scenes, it'd be like assaulting. Aggressive. Yeah. Yes. But he personally like, yeah, I know that you think that it's wrong, but I'm right. You know, right. And he talked about Eraserhead. He would like go from cinema to cinema and personally set the soundboard.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. Okay. Well, let's recap. So number 1, you said art vector. Number 2, I said creative intuition. Number 3, we went with...
You made a bunch of art I don't actually like.
Made a bunch of art I don't actually like. Thank God for that. Try and fill. Number 4, transcendental meditation. And number 5, sound design.
Yes.
Excellent list. Okay. All right, let's take a break. Okay, category 3, one love. In this category, we will each choose one word or phrase that characterizes David Lynch's loving relationships. First, we'll review the data. It gets a little complicated in here. So 4 marriages, kid with each marriage. Peggy, when he was 21, they had a child who was born when David was 22. They divorced in 74 when he's 28. Then there was Mary Fisk, the first Mary. They marry in 1977. David's 31. They have a child when he's 36, and they divorced when David Lynch is 41. The third marriage, Mary Sweeney, this was a real quick one. Married in 2006, divorced in 2007. So David Lynch was 60, and they were longtime collaborators.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that betrays their... Like they were probably together for longer. And
right. But like, it wasn't like, didn't tie the knot and then untied it for a hot minute. Because, yeah, they had a child born in 92.
Yeah, exactly.
So when he was 46. And then fourth wife, Emily, they married in 2009. David was 63. Child born in 2012. So he was a 66-year-old father. She filed for divorce in 2023, but they never finalized it. So they were technically married. And David Lynch was 77 when they filed, so he died at 78.
And longtime partner with Isabella Rossellini for a while. They did not get married, but they were together for years.
Yeah. And, okay, I'll lead. In a way, I kind of copped out. I wrote Elephant Man.
Oh, okay.
So here's where I'm going with this. First of all, I actually think that's maybe my favorite David Lynch movie.
You know what? I still haven't seen it. I know. For a while, I wanted to be like, I want to see everything, but then there's a certain point where I feel like I want to leave myself treats in the future.
Yes.
To be like, I'll okay, now it's time to like sit down and watch like a great movie, and I know I'm going to love it. And so I'm just like kind of, it's like a little present that
I'm on board with this.
Later.
A fine wine. Wait for the right moment to crack it open.
Yes.
I think it's perfect. I agree. I don't know why. The fact that this was the first movie I saw of his, and I was a kid, and I don't know why these things were on my television. I don't know who was letting me watch television for long hours. Okay, so here are the comparisons I see. Elephants are not monogamous, but they have strong kinship structure. Sure. And he became a father at 22 and again at 66. So there's a long lifespan. That's a very elephant thing.
Yes.
One thing that is striking, I didn't do a super deep dive into this category, but neither his kids nor his exes really badmouth him all that much from what I can see. Everybody seems to say
him.
They say nice things, and it's kind of striking.
Yes.
I also think he's got thick skin.
Yeah.
Like an elephant.
Yeah.
I think, and then the last two things, and this is more about him as a person, he's just weird. He's a weird guy, and that's a weird animal.
Yeah.
The big ears, the long trunk, it feels surreal that thing even exists.
Yeah.
And yet there is a sort of deliberate gracefulness to him. So Elephant Man was my one love.
I actually love that.
Thank you.
It's a really good one.
The comparisons came out. All right, so what did you have?
Okay, so I didn't know this word until I kind of was trying to search for one.
Oh, I love this.
Yes.
Okay.
And it actually ends up being a Freudian concept, like from Freud himself.
Interesting.
The word is cathexis.
Cathexis?
Cathexis.
Never heard this word before.
And I hadn't either. But what it says is the concentration of mental energy on one particular person, idea, or object, especially to an unhealthy degree. And so this feels exactly like David Lynch to me.
Yeah.
Especially when you hear him talk and he's so insistent on one idea, and that is you have to fall in love with ideas.
Totally. He says this over and over. I was going to bring this up earlier.
Fall in love with an idea.
And he seems to mean that literally. Yeah.
Literally. And I think it's really interesting, like that he had a long-time relationship with Isabella Rossellini, who starred in Blue Velvet as the love interest. So you have to wonder, like, I'm sure he loved her, but also he probably loved the image of her on the screen as like this, you know, this character, this person, this idea. He married and was in a relationship with his editor.
Yeah.
Right. He even seems to have like maybe not romantic, but like true deep love with people like Kyle MacLachlan and Laura Dern, collaborators who it almost feels like family or something.
Nice to meet you, Naomi. He's got that intense ear-to-ear grin and, you know, smoking up a storm. So how's your day? I got a call that he wanted to meet me at Bob's Big Boy to see if Kyle MacLachlan and I could get along or something. David was doodling on napkins while Kyle was doodling with a knife into his ketchup. And I mean, a girl either goes, these are really bizarre men and they're twin souls, or I'm in love with both these people and want to spend the rest of my lives with them, which is how I responded.
You think about all of these relationships that he's had. Jack Fisk, he calls him his best friend. He is the man, you know, in Eraserhead and among other things.
He's got a lot of it. There's definitely a lot of carryover from project to project.
And so you see this cast of characters that he kind of surrounds himself with. And you can easily imagine how he goes from like partner to partner. And it's not that he ever like falls out of love with someone, but he turns his spotlight. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's like, it's not that I don't love you anymore. It's that now you are my obsession, you know? And he also expresses this not just with people, but with things. Have you heard his milkshake story?
Big Bob's or Billy Bob's, or what was it called?
Bob's Big Boy.
Bob's Big Boy, yeah.
How for like almost 10 years, he would sit in the diner every single day, 3:00, order the milkshake because that's when they switched the machine.
And so it was the perfect.
And he'll say, I've had 3 perfect milkshakes in my life.
Yeah.
And then he learned that they were made out of like chemicals and like really gross stuff. And like next day, I'm out of milkshakes.
It's like chicken and broccoli for lunch.
Yes. No more. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Eats one thing for lunch every day. But the milkshakes, he dropped them in the same day, never again. So I think that he has these fixations that he then just, you know, drops.
I don't even know how much he's interested in a long-term, you know, committed relationship, but it doesn't seem like it was ever on the table for him.
Yeah.
And let me say this. I don't want to judge that.
No.
But I also do think it misses what I believe can exist, which is not cathexis, I guess. Anti-cathexis? The ability to remain committed on some level.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that also speaks to maybe all the other things we've been talking about, how he's so sporadic of like, okay, I'm going to make a book now. I'm going to make a movie now. I'm going to make an album now. Like he just kind of it's not that he can't like focus on an idea. It's that he's almost like he's easy to just like cut ties with something.
Well, that's the thing, is that what's interesting here, and we don't have to resolve it or make peace around it, but it's as if the same philosophy that applies to his creative pursuits also applies to his relationships.
Yes.
And people and ideas are not the same thing. A person is not an idea. A person is a soul.
Yeah.
And he even believes that. I mean,
Yeah.
he talks about that as being part of his transcendental meditation philosophy. It's like it's underneath, it's all unity.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I like the word cathexis. Thank you for introducing it.
Vocab word of the day.
Yeah, totally. It's a nod to Pee Wee Herman. All right. Category 4, net worth. In this category, we are going to guess the net worth. Our results, then we'll then look it up. The results are sourced from the website celebritynetworth.com. Maybe reliable, maybe not. We write down our numbers ahead of time before we reveal, and finally we'll place this person on the Famous and Gravy net worth leaderboard.
Before we talk about it, do you want to just reveal intuition style? We'll talk about it after.
Yeah, okay. I guess yes. Okay, let's do it. Should we just reveal?
Let's do it.
All right. So Jacob Weiss wrote down 33 million.
Michael Osborne wrote down 15 million.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to do this, is because I thought that we would be pretty different.
This is, but I bet you're right. Okay.
I don't know, though.
David Lynch's actual net worth, according to Celebrity, is 70 million.
What?
Okay.
Mr. Jackpots.
In my mind, I was thinking like 50 would be like the
max?
absolute ceiling. Because he even talks about not having that much money.
I know, but okay. So here's, I should have gone higher. Obviously, but let's talk it out.
You look at his body of work. You look at a movie like Lost Highway, and you're like, oh yeah, this guy has more than 15 million.
The commercial success is not there. There's never really a blockbuster. Even Mulholland Drive is like performs pretty well, but it's not like
decent, makes its money back,
right? And there's a lot of critical acclaim, but he did a lot of commercials.
That's what
ton of commercials.
So I wrote down advertisements, just to name a few: Dior, Gucci, Adidas, Calvin Klein, Georgia Coffee, Michael Jackson, his introduction to his like big 90s tour video, the Sci-Fi Channel, and PlayStation 2.
PlayStation 2. It's the weirdest commercial.
Welcome to the third place.
I also knew that directors, just based on history, do very well on this list.
But he just doesn't feel like
he doesn't feel like somebody who should have 70 million. My God. All right. This is, yeah, I mean.
But then I did write, so advertisements, of course, art sale. I mean, I think that there's probably a lot of rich people who just want to say they've got a David Lynch painting and they don't care if they pay $2 million for it. I mean, that's pretty cheap for a painting.
Yeah.
You know?
I actually,
think he has
if I had that kind of money, I would probably buy a David Lynch piece.
Why not? He probably has made more, I'm just guessing, on art sales than movies.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised.
But 70 million, my God. All right. But well done.
Well, yeah, well done.
We sometimes talk about this on Famous and Gravy. 100 years from now, who's going to be remembered?
Yeah.
I think that there's a case that David Lynch is going to be in the history books in a way a lot of other figures on Famous and Gravy will not.
If not the history books, the dictionary.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Like,
he's got a definition.
He has a word.
But it's also, I do think that his influence is so vast, it's hard to track. But I think that he is in that category of artist that fit into, history in a way, right? Yeah. And the fact that he's even famous at all is kind of remarkable, right?
Yes.
Like it almost feels subversive. And
yes.
I can think, I was a big fan of the rock group Ween. Do you know Ween?
Yeah.
Yes. I remember seeing Ween live for the first time, and the reaction I had, great show. The whole time I'm thinking, I can't believe they get away with this. And that's a little bit how I feel about David Lynch. I can't believe he gets away with this, you know?
Yes.
All right, well, let's place him on the net worth leaderboard. So he is, there are two other people at the $70 million dinner table. So he is at position 26.
Okay.
I like this dinner table. This is a weird one. Also at the famous and gravy net worth dinner table at 70 million sits Angela Lansbury.
What?
And James Gandolfini. That's a dinner table I want to hang out at. I think, okay, we're talking TV here.
That's true.
You know, we're going to go the murder she wrote in The Sopranos and Twin Peaks. That's kind of fun, right?
Okay.
Like imagine the dinner table conversation there.
There's something there.
There's something there. There's something to work with. Mystery, underbelly, seedy underbelly. You know.
Absolutely.
We can go a lot of places. Category 5 is now Malkovich or Tiny Trophy. In this category, we do one of two things. We either choose a tiny trophy, an award, a cameo, an impersonation, some other form of a hat tip that shows a different side of this person, or we choose a Malkovich moment, named after the movie Being John Malkovich, in which you get a front row seat to somebody's experience. Do you want to go trophy or Malkovich?
I think this is the time when I want to do... I want to tell you about the straight story.
Okay, Malkovich moment with the straight story?
See, the thing, though, about Malkovich is it's not really through his perspective. Yeah. I'm going to call this Tiny Trophy.
Okay.
So you watched the straight story?
I did, on your recommendation, and I loved it.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I loved it.
Yes. Okay.
I got emotional.
Yes,
watching it.
No, it was one of those when I watched it the first time too. Like I liked it all the way through, but when you finally get to that last stretch, was just.
We should explain the plot.
Yes. Okay, so the straight story. It's very simple. It's very simple. It's based on a true story. A man in Iowa. Is getting old. He has an accident. He's kind of towards the end of his life. Gets a call that his brother has had a stroke, and he's also near the end of his life. So there's two guys at the very end of their life. They haven't spoken to each other in like 10 years. They had a bad argument. And so he then decides, his name is Alvin Straight. That's why it's the straight story. He's going to drive to make amends with his brother. The problem is he is old, failing eyesight. The only thing that he can drive is his riding lawnmower. So he drives his lawnmower for, 300 miles
across the state to Wisconsin.
Yes, to make amends with his brother, who you may not even know if he's alive still. He's just going out and gonna make things right.
Well, okay, you please pass the headline there. Drove his lawnmower. Like it went 5 miles an hour.
5 miles an hour.
Attached a trailer with all his camping gear.
Yeah,
so he's like on the highway,
camping on the side of the road, eating can of beans.
I mean, it's a nice mower to be sure, but like
John Deere.
Yeah, exactly.
It's classic, but no, yeah. So and then the movie is kind of he is moving at a slow pace and meeting people and essentially experiencing the kindness of strangers.
Yeah.
And so it's just like a road movie at 5 miles an hour, you know. Okay, so the movie. Why is it interesting? Why is this my tiny trophy? So this is the only movie that David Lynch ever made that he did not write. It was written by his on-again, off-again wife, Mary Sweeney. She found out about the story in real life, fell in love with it, worked on writing the script for years and years and years, bought the rights to the script herself with a producer, and then said, David, can you read my script? He fell in love with the script, said, this is only one of 4 scripts that I've ever read that I loved. And so he said, I'm on board. He did not want to cast Richard Farnsworth at first, who was the lead.
Yeah.
They said, we have to audition him. He did, fell in love with Richard Farnsworth, said, you are Alvin Straight. Great. Richard Farnsworth said, I only wanted to do the role because of my admiration and respect for the real life man. He was old. He was basically retired. He was not really looking to do a film, but he signs on to it. Okay. Movie comes out. It's huge, praise. I think it makes some amount of money, whatever. He gets an Oscar nomination.
Yes.
It's called The Performance of a Lifetime. Yeah. He says, I was so lucky that I got to have one more, great role in my life. He doesn't get the Oscar, loses to Kevin Spacey. A few months later, comes out that Richard Farnsworth commits suicide.
Yeah, terminal cancer.
But nobody knew. He didn't tell anyone that he was dying of cancer while he was playing a character who essentially was dying of cancer. So it comes out that he has been dying throughout the whole movie, and you kind of understand he wanted to do the movie because it was him. Like, that was his life, okay? Years later. Unprompted, on a podcast, Norm Macdonald is asked about David Lynch, and he says, I don't really like David Lynch. He's a weird guy, but have you ever seen The Straight Story?
Well, you got to see this movie.
Okay.
And if you watch it closely, there's like hellish things going on underneath the surface of what looks like a quaint story. So anyways, the point of it is that Richard Farnsworth was nominated for an Academy Award for the movie. And if he had said he was filled with cancer, he would have won for sure.
Sure.
But instead, he didn't say it. And in fact, no one knew it. His family didn't know it. He kept it from everyone. That to me is courageous. Like, you're not being a burden to your family. They know nothing about it, and then you're gone. Yeah, and you write him. He wrote a nice letter to everybody, in the family, and said that he didn't want to. The reason he did it is he didn't want to cause people distress. So I thought, wow, how incredible! Like, to go through it alone.
Why is this my tiny trophy? So it's all of these. Again, this is intuition. Okay.
Yeah.
The only movie that someone else wrote for David Lynch casted a guy who was dying of cancer, who wanted to do a role, that then Norm Macdonald, who sees himself in this story, that he's also dying of cancer but not telling anyone.
Yeah.
And so it's all of these like
it's a chain of life thing.
It's like this undercurrent that no one knows about, but they feel it. Okay? It's all of this stuff.
An underground stream.
Yes, exactly. And so like, I think this is in many ways the power of David Lynch, that he couldn't probably express this weird connection. How do you get from Alvin Straight to Norm Macdonald?
Yeah.
But it threaded through all of them through this one movie. And there was just something that David Lynch like kind of was pulled towards this movie. Like, I have to make this movie. He didn't know all of these things, but he weaved all of these people together.
I mean, this really gets to your art vector point.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That there is, I brought it up, and I think you told me once that your least favorite episode in the entire Famous and Gravy catalog was the Margaret Thatcher episode.
Probably.
I'm sorry I made you edit that one. I've actually had people tell me they love it.
It's fine.
But one thing I brought up in there is the St. Francis prayer. And that prayer begins with, Lord, make me a channel of your peace.
Yes.
And I think that there is like, that's what we're talking about on some level. It's a channel. It's a vector. He is a medium through which this like subsurface river is flowing, and you bring it up to the surface as a spring and let everybody drink from it, and it goes right back underground, right?
Yes.
Tapping into something that beyond you.
And this ties back to the
it's
whole.
It's hard not to hear that story and think that, right?
Yes, yeah. It also ties to like, again, like even the first line of the obituary, the world consciousness sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
Spiritual or not, like I hear a story like this, and you gotta think that there's something to the meditation.
Well, this has always been my whole... yeah, totally. And this has always been my like sort of argument about the spiritual undercurrent of Famous and Gravy. It's not that you have to sign off on any belief in a deity. It's that if there's a willingness to look, you find all this meaning there.
Yes.
And what a great example of that.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Anyways.
It's more than... what a large, tiny trophy. Well done. I had thought about my Malkovich moment as being Dune as a turning point, because it's the only time he said he sold out.
Yeah.
And there, actually, this kind of dovetails. Maybe I'll go ahead and share it.
Yeah.
This is from the David Foster Wallace article. He says, in a strange way, Dune actually ended up being Lynch's big break as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
The Dune that finally appeared in the theaters was, by all reliable reports, heartbreaking for Lynch, the kind of debacle that in myths about innocent, idealistic artists and the maw of the Hollywood process signals the violent end of the artist's innocence, seduced, overwhelmed, fucked over, left to take the public heat and the mogul's wrath. The experience could easily have turned Lynch into an embittered hack doing effects-intensive gore fest for commercial studios. This article is so good.
Yeah.
Or it could have sent him scurrying to the safety of academia, making obscure, plotless 16 millimeters for the pipe and beret crowd. The experience did neither. Lynch both hung in and on some level probably gave up. Dune convinced him of something that all the really interesting independent filmmakers, the Coen brothers, Jane Campion, Jim Jarmusch, seemed to steer by. The experience taught me a valuable lesson, he said years later. I learned I would rather not make a film than make one where I don't have final cut.
Yes.
And this, in an almost Lynchianly weird way, is what led to Blue Velvet. And there's a whole... So... The Malkovich moment I want is the moment where he says, okay, I guess I don't have to have final cut. I think he had to go through that unbelievably painful lesson. The movie is...
Terrible, terrible experience.
Do you regret making it?
Yes.
Let's take another break. All right, category 6, words to live by. In this category, we each choose a quote. These are either words that came out of this person's mouth or was said about them. I would have thought he'd have been more quotable. He's not all that quotable. Did you find good stuff?
I have 3 quotes.
Okay. Oh, all right.
But you can go first. You can go first.
Well, I got another quote from the David Foster Wallace.
That's fine.
And it echoes something we talked about earlier. You almost never, from a Lynch movie, get the sense that the point is to entertain you, and never that the point is to get you to fork over money to see it. This is one of the unsettling things about a Lynch movie. You don't feel like you're entering into any of the standard unspoken and or unconscious contracts you normally enter into with other kinds of movies. This is unsettling because in the absence of such an unconscious contract, we lose some of the psychic protections we normally and necessarily bring to bear on the medium as powerful as film. That is, if we know on some level what a movie wants from us, we can erect certain internal defenses that let us choose how much of ourselves we give away to it. The absence of point or recognizable agenda in Lynch's films, though, strips these subliminal defenses and lets Lynch get inside your head in a way that movies normally don't. This is why his best films' effects are so often emotional and nightmarish. We're defenseless in our dreams, too. This may, in fact, be Lynch's true and only agenda, just to get inside your head. He seems to care more about penetrating your head than about what he does once he's in there. Is this good art? Is this good art? It's hard to say. It seems, once again, either ingenious or psychopathic. Sure different anyway. I thought that nailed it for me. Yeah. I was like, nobody has ever described... But I think it's your point about sandpaper.
Yes.
I do think it's what he wants is to get in your head.
Yes.
And what he wants to do in there, unclear. Well, maybe there's not a point. It's sort of like, what is it? When the dog actually catches the car, you don't know what to do with it, right?
No, yeah. And I think, though, in his own weird way, he would say that it's better that way. You know, because... he
gets in there and stirs you up.
That's what I mean. It's not like he knows how to get into your head specifically or mine, because he's just aiming at this sort of invisible target of again, the mass creative consciousness, the universal consciousness. Yeah. And it's almost like, rather than aiming again, up into your head, he's no, we're going down. We're going deep into the surface, the substrata. So many of his movies go into the dirt. I mean, Blue Velvet is goes into the dirt, and you see all the bugs, and you're going down. I think he wants to go
the red ants under the lawn.
Yes, you want to go down, and then you connect to everyone in this sort of unspoken way. God,
the more we're talking about it, the more. I really like what you had to say earlier of there's a couple things of his I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But I'm actually really glad for as long as I walk on this earth, I may have a moment where I've got a couple hours.
Yeah.
And I'm going to watch a David Lynch movie
Yes.
I haven't seen before or haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Or because I actually can't think of anybody who does that so effectively, but there is no agenda exactly other than to maybe hint at the idea of a universal consciousness.
Yes. I have not much to say.
Seriously. All right, what do you got for words to live by?
I actually have, I found this when I was in Mexico City. Again, talk about intuition or whatever. My wife wanted to go to like a thrift store in Mexico City years and years ago. And I was just walking around and I would go to the back and there's like this little corner where there's like these little like drawings that like a local artist made, and I see this postcard with a doodle of David Lynch, and this is an actual quote of his, and I bought it, and it's right next to my computer at home, and it's negativity is the enemy of creativity.
I had this too.
Yes.
I had this too. I'm so glad you called this out. This is the one I was going to go with before.
This is maybe like top 5 words to live by for me, like life philosophy.
Why?
Because
I agree with this, but I want to hear you elaborate on it.
Because, like, I don't know. I think about like the way that I grew up, and just the way that like people are. That like if you say, "Oh, I imagine like I really wanted to like learn how to play guitar," and there was like friends who I say friends, but, like people in school who were like better at guitar, and they would like make fun of you if you didn't like play as well. Like it's a small thing, but it's like doesn't want to make me play guitar,
Yeah.
And then I found a friend who was a drummer who was just like, that's awesome. Let's just like jam. And you find someone who's like wants to be excited about the pursuit of creativity. And then that makes you better. Right. And then you get better together. Right.
Yeah.
Or if you make a film and everyone says it sucks, you're probably not going to be a filmmaker anymore. But David Lynch, made some films and he was, told like, keep going, and so
by Mel Brooks, no less.
Exactly.
Right? But yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, like no one said like, what's this weird Eraserhead thing? They said like, this is interesting.
You're onto something here.
Keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's this sort of like enthusiastic, like.
Yes. And I mean, it's like an improv thing.
Yes.
Yeah. What's also interesting about that, and this is another through line of the podcast, is sort of like healing through creativity.
Yeah.
And I think that, there is a certain, with some validity, myth of a tortured artist.
Yes.
Right? That
Yes.
we have to experience pain in order to do original work.
Yes.
And
yes. And he even says that. He said, I make art about a lot of evil and negative things, but that's because evil and negativity exists in the world. So all I'm doing is like taking it and putting it into the art, and I don't have to suffer, because it's in my art. I'm creating sort of a reflection of the world knowingly, and I'm not saying it because I feel bad. It's because that's just the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can remove myself from it and still present it.
Yeah.
So
let's move on. Category 7, Man in the Mirror. This category asks a fairly simple question. Did this person like the reflection? Yes or no? This is not about beauty, but rather a question of self-confidence versus self-judgment. I had a pretty resounding yes here. This was like the simplest category in the David Lynch episode for me. Anybody who has committed to this way of life and who has been so generative and so prolific and so singular, I just didn't have a lot of questions here about the man in the mirror moment.
And he did talk about when he was younger feeling self-conscious. He even talked about being a recluse, that he would like just shut himself in his house.
Well, what's funny is he had a kind of shockingly normal high school. Like, there's nothing. One thing about David Lynch is it's very hard to find any event or trauma that would explain him.
No,
right? This seems like he is creative genetically.
Yeah, exactly. And he like can't help himself. He's like creative or curious to a fault.
Totally.
But yeah, no, I just wrote the wives, the hair, Isabella Rossellini. Like,
I'm going to go with yes. I don't have to make this isn't a hard one. Awesome. All right. Well, that category was short. Let's move on. Category 8, coffee, cocktail, or cannabis. This is where we ask which one would we most want to do with our dead celebrity. I went pretty simple here too. I'll go ahead and offer mine.
Yeah.
I did think about, so I'm most fascinated by his time in Philly. in the 70s when he's evolving as a painter and taking an interest in film. One of the things he describes, and one of the fascinations he has, is sort of with industrial landscapes. And I want to go on a walk with a cup of coffee in 1970s Philly and see the world that he's seeing. I mean, one thing he talks about, even in his childhood, is that it's all there. He was pretty shut in. There was all there in these 2 blocks. I think he is somebody who can just point out the mundane and the macabre, And I kind of just want to walk around. I don't know that city at all. I don't have a mind's eye image, but I want to. Again, he's a coffee guy, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
All I want to do is ride shotgun, and because I am interested in his transcendental meditation practice, and I want to talk with him about that. Yeah. But I also want to talk about how he observes that. And what he and I guess the reason I like sort of Philly in the 70s, the mental image I barely have of it, is that that's not a place where I expect a whole lot. All other things being equal, of unconscious spiritual juice that may be there.
It's like a deep sort of like urban decay. It's like because he was fascinated with like decaying things, so it's like a whole city in decay. And
exactly.
He would.
And Romero's just down the street at this time, which I love. And they I did. There's apparently a documentary about the midnight movies. Did you see this?
No.
And these whole midnight movies. I mean, that's the thing we didn't also talk about with Eraserhead, but just to tell the story.
Yeah.
The movie becomes this word of mouth cult classic. And just is in the theater for years and years. It's it's like the definition of a slow burn. I don't think that's possible anymore. If anything has attention these days, it becomes the biggest thing ever in a flash in the pan.
In a funny way, I do think that like not just YouTube, but like the concept of YouTube is that way, because you're seeing a lot of movies now, especially horror films, come out from YouTubers who, like they just either made something years and years ago that went viral, or they've been making stuff for a long time. But YouTube, I mean, there's stuff on there like 20 years now, So like, I think that is slowly replacing this sort of cult location.
I'd like to believe that.
I think it is, because it's democratized. It's like very low barrier to entry. David Lynch loved YouTube.
All right. Well, if David Lynch loved YouTube, then I suppose I should too. All right, what did you have for coffee cocktail?
It's you gotta choose coffee.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
There's a scene that he talked about that he would do. He got into this routine like later in life where he would be at his house in LA, but he would be hanging out in his workshop, which was sort of like an outdoor workshop. So imagine like a big outdoor patio. There's like paintings around, probably some sorts of chairs.
Wasn't it on its roof? That's what I remember.
That was part of it too. Yeah. Roof. I mean, it was just all over. He had like a compound where you just go wherever, But he had like a workshop, like with like tools and machinery and stuff. But
he would $70 million.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
he had a setup. Yeah, so
several setups.
Right.
But he would go out at like sunset, and he would have either a glass of red wine or a pack of cigarettes or a cup of coffee, and he would just go out there and work on whatever he wanted to work on. There wasn't like any goal or pretension or anything. It would just be kind of like a ritual. So honestly, I just want to like hang out in that space, and we might not even be talking very much. He might be smearing some paint on a wall, and I might be over in a corner, like
with a microphone in a bathtub.
Yes, truly. Yeah. Oh, David, if you
check it out.
Check out these acoustics. I'm like, and then maybe we'll like come together and we'll, what are you working on, David? And sit down, have a cup of coffee, take a break, and then kind of get back to it. But I've been like, the older I get, the more I've been like really enjoying the concept of like co-working spaces with friends.
Yeah.
And not that you're like working on a project together, but it's kind of like a check that like, okay, I'm going to work on this project. You're going to work on this project. And it's like a gym buddy.
Yeah.
But for like creativity.
Yeah.
So I want to do that with David Lynch.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Jacob Weiss, we have arrived. Our final category, the case for the upward staircase. In this category, it's pretty simple. We make a case for the upward staircase and this person's contribution to the stream of life. I mean, in a way, I don't think that we need to say a whole lot. I think the contribution here is extraordinary. What is interesting, or one thing that is interesting to me here, is that one thing that has been kind of with Famous and Gravy from the beginning, there's this book, I think I've got it on here. Yeah, it's right here. Monsters by Claire Denner. It's really good. It's about how do we make peace with artists who have problematic biographies. And so like Polanski, Woody Allen, like there's a lot of it's a really good book. It's got a lot of attention. One thing she says in there that I've just like sandpaper, I've not been able to get out of my head is the idea that in modern life, biography has a way of intruding into our interpretations. David, we've talked more about the output than his actual like events in life in some ways. Like his biography doesn't unlock or tell you anything. And that I find kind of relieving in a way. I don't need to know the guy any better to be completely fascinated by his work. And I feel like there's something in there around, you know, that tapping into that deep creative intuition that speaks to that I saw that, and therefore I don't need it explained, and therefore I'm only, even though we've been talking about his life for the last hour and plus, I actually I don't feel a burning desire to understand his biography any better in order to like celebrate his life.
No,
you know,
definitely not.
So part of what, I mean, I guess what the case for the upward staircase to me is pretty self-evident that he did that he did it so successfully, and that we can kind of see it even if you don't like his art. To your point number 3, he did a lot of art I don't care for. That's actually kind of the point.
I like it.
I mean, and I don't know, is there anything to even add to that, Jacob?
Something that he said, which speaks to this conversation and everything else. He talked about how he was talking about movies, but you can think about it in anything, that the best type of story that you can tell is a story that keeps on going after it ends. Right? And he gave the example of Chinatown, right? I don't know if you've seen Chinatown. But like the movie ends and technically the credits roll, but you sit there and you're like, no, there's more. We're
not done here.
Like,
right?
There's more stuff going on. But but I think that with his life, like, you know, it's technically over, but the work, the contribution, the philosophy, the adjectives, everything about it is like it's continuing on because it wasn't sort of like a story that kind of has a neat and tidy.
It's not bounded by his heartbeat or by his, you know, like pulse, right? It's bounded more by him as a vector.
A vector or like a seed.
Yeah.
You know, he plants a seed in your brain and then it grows because he's not watering it, like you're watering it. You know what I mean? And I think that that's sort of, if you're gonna live the art life like he wanted to, like I think that's the best way to do it, is to plant all of these seeds in the world and then they kind of bear fruit even if you're not around.
It's moving to me that there doesn't seem to be a lot of sadness in you about Catherine, because it seems like that she's still here with you.
Yeah, no, I think you know, they say meditation helps with this kind of thing. You know, we're all one, really, and nothing ever disappears. And I wish that she was still around physically, but she's not. But like I said, she's around just the same.
Speed round, plugs for past shows. Jacob, if people enjoyed you are the best person in the world to ask this question. If people enjoyed this episode, what else might they check out from the back catalog?
I had to go with another David Bowie.
That's who I went with too.
I know.
Okay, but it's kind of the same. There's a mirror reflection there.
But that's what intuition. I mean, it's the right answer.
Their paths crossed.
Yes. No, true. Yeah, Twin Peaks. No, truly. I mean, it's and on the surface level, it's beautiful because it's like David Bowie. He was a musician, but most of his output was not music. It was everything else. David Lynch, filmmaker, but most of his output was like everything else. They were just these like bubbling creative souls, you know.
Episode 82, that's the re-release, Rebel, David Bowie. You know what? I'm going to say the same one. I might
it's
have
just
a second
right.
one.
It's just right.
It's too perfect. Check out the David episodes from the back catalog. All right. Here is a preview for the next episode of Famous and Gravy. He dictated his most famous work from a prison cell to a writer of romance novels who was his cellmate. Famous and Gravy listeners, we love hearing from you. If you want to reach out with a comment, a question, or to participate in our opening quiz, email us at hello@famousandgravy.com. In our show notes, we include all kinds of links, including to our website and our social channels. Famous and Gravy was created by Amit Kapoor and me, Michael Osborne. This episode is produced and edited by Jacob Weiss. Thank you, Jacob, so much for sitting in the hot seat. Original music by Kevin Strang. Thanks so much. See you next time.